Welcome to today's video. We have a very exciting video today. If you have not seen already, we have posted some stuff on our story and whatnot. We have some important parts to the build, I would say, imported freshly from Japan. Number one, we have our Cusco rear lower control arm. Oh God. Today is the day. We have our HKS Hypermax S coilover. Brand new, imported from Japan. Finally we have them. We're throwing them on today. Finally have our needed suspension for the BRZ. They are known to be very good for this chassis for a daily driver, as well as to have some kind of aggressive driving for the track if you do decide to throw it on the track. For today, when we throw these on, we're actually gonna put it right in the middle to get a feel for it. That's what most people do, put it in the middle. 30 clicks total, that's soft and that's stiff. So we're gonna meet right in the middle and see how we like it there. We did get the lower control arms because for the camber, for the fitment that we want to run, we need lower control arms. We are going to be running 255 tire on our build. So in order to do 255 tires on your car, you're gonna need lower control arms in the rear for sure. And depending on how much camber you want to run in the rear, you're gonna need to either one, shave the tabs, which might be the case for you depending on how much camber you're gonna run. You also might need trailing arms and toe arms as well to achieve the camber you wanna run. We're probably gonna go the toe arm and trailing arm route just because they're kind of easy to install. Rear upper control arms as well. They're not that bad of an install, kind of could just throw them on, but today we're just doing the coilovers and lower control arms. This way we can throw on that 255 tire. For the fronts, if you're gonna be running the kind of standard wheel setup, which is 18 by 9.5 with an offset of 40, you're probably gonna want a spacer in the front or else you're gonna rub on full lock. So the spacer that some people are running, I think, is around 5 millimeters. So we're gonna end up probably doing that. So these come already preloaded, meaning you do not have to compress the spring on these, which is super nice, and that's what makes this install relatively, I would say, intermediate, dude. Intermediate. It's not too bad. Just make sure you get all the torque specs. I'll include the torque specs in the video. To me, torque specs are important. I see other guys on YouTube, they kind of just zing the bolts on. When it comes to suspension like this, when it comes to putting on coils, control arms, any kind of suspension, I'm pretty firm believing in torquing things to spec, because if you're driving the car aggressively, or if you're just, doing, any kind of spirited driving, whatever case is, I'm not saying take it on track, you're gonna wanna torque your bolts to spec, dude. You don't want something coming loose and then your stuff falling apart, and there's only one person to blame for that, and that's you. So, torque your stuff to spec. Everything is included online. Same specs as Gen 1, most things as far as I've seen. So easy to do. Just get a torque wrench, a couple extensions, maybe a swivel socket, and you're all set to torque everything. So yeah, man, we're just gonna jump right into the install. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to give me a like down below. It really does go a long way. And while you're down there, consider subscribing. That shows me you guys like what I'm doing here, and I can do more, dude. But other than that, we're gonna jump right into the install. Ew. Hammer, punch, pry bar, but the necessary things. I don't really have a size wrench for the control arms, but this is what I used to kind of adjust the control arms myself. A few size sockets here. We have a 14, we have a 17, we have a 19 deep, and then we have a 17 and 19 short socket. Two different ratchets, one flex head, and we have kind of a slim head here. A few electric tools. And then we have our impact sockets, a few extra impact sockets for our impact guns. Finally, our torque wrenches, different size torque wrenches so we could fit in there. Necessary things, definitely torque wrench so you can torque your stuff down. Electric gun will definitely make your life easier, especially one with a little higher torque such as this one. First things first, I learned from doing the other side is the end lengths on the front suspension. 17 millimeter, you're gonna wanna take out the end links first before anything else. I took out the strut before and it was definitely a pain to get off the end link, that is. So 17 millimeter on the end links, get that end link off, and then take care of the ABS sensor. Yeah, she's a little tight. So for the bottom nut of the end link, it was a little bit of a pain to get to. So we took 17 mil wrench, put it on the bottom of the end link on the nut, take a hammer, boom, hit it a couple times, eventually comes loose. You're gonna wanna hit it, so if you put it on like this, like that, comes off pretty easily. You guys will notice the end link is kind of a pain to take off, so that is probably the best way to take it off. Then you come in here with your ratchet, 17 mil, probably a short socket, just because the deep socket is pretty difficult to get in there without stripping the nut. So get your short socket, get the bottom end link nut out of there, easy. All right, next up, before we take our strut bolts out, we want to get rid of our ABS sensor because obviously ABS sensor, do not want to have that connected when we take our strut out. It's bad news. So take a flathead. It's kind of a pain to get to in here. So we're gonna grab our flashlight, kind of see what we're doing. Come from down below. After you get your ABS sensor all unclipped, I'm gonna come back here with a 12 millimeter and get your brake line off. And then now it is time to take out the strut bolts. All right, for the strut bolts, come in here with our 19 millimeter and impact gun. For the bottom bolt, throw a little extension on whatever you're using and you'll be able to get it off a lot easier. Boom, both off, easy. All right, bang. Bolts out, get the ABS sensor out of the way. All right, come on here, flathead. Boom. All right, so you want to take note of which bolt is which. So the skinnier one here, if you take a look at the two, skinnier one is on top. This one was from the bottom. So what you could do, if you're using camber bolts when installing your coilovers, you actually take the bottom factory bolt from the strut and switch it to the top. It allows you to gain more camber. So the thick bolt, if you're using aftermarket camber bolts, you could get rid of the thick bolt here that is found on the top, and then you could use the bottom factory bolt and switch it to the top here. And then use your camber bolt in the bottom of the strut, of the coilover. All right, so to get the end link out, it's kind of a pain. So you could either kind of hammer away and kind of pry at these studs here to get these out of the strut, or what I just did is I loosened the bolts on top at the strut tower, and that allowed me to kind of move the strut around, and eventually I was just able to move the strut around, move the end link around, and it just kind of popped out. Now we could take our strut bolts out here from the, well, the strut mount, kind of pick up our strut here, fuck everything up. All right, she's added. Our HKS Hypermax S coilovers in terms of moving things around on this coil. You don't want to adjust anything yet. Wait until the car settles, I would say, unless you're experienced. So wait till the car settles, put the coils on, as long as they come preloaded. Don't adjust anything yet until you have an idea of how much camber you want to run and how low you want to go. So we're going to take this in here and come on here, and then let's see here. Boom. And then while you kind of have it with one hand down below, come up top, put the nuts on, and then once you get kind of the nuts on, spin them on a little bit, make sure the coilover is all the way to the top, and boom, she's held in. And what you could do is take a ratchet, push the coilover to the top, snug them up a little bit, just a wee bit, not all the way. And the reason why I say not all the way is because in case you want to move stuff around, you can come back and torque them, do whatever you want, hand tighten them, whatever. Just leave them a little, just snug them down a little bit for now. All right, time to get our bolts into our coilover. Lift her up, use your knees, use your legs, kind of adjust it, and then eventually, boom. I like to put the bolt in from the right side, so take my right hand, boom, I'm a righty, so it makes it easier to get in. Boom, easy, make it easy, squeeze me. Thread our nut on there. Then, if you have decided to go with camber bolts, these are the SPC camber bolts. So what you want to do is take a nut off, and this is the alignment washer here. So what you're going to see is you're going to have this little tab right here. What you want to do is line it up with the oval. So you see on this side there's kind of a lip there, the lobe, and then if you twist it around you see there's no lobe. So basically you want to catch this lip onto the lobe, the upmost part of the lobe, so it does not go over. So if you twist it like this, you see it goes right over. Whereas if you twist it over here where the lip of the lobe is, boom, does not go over. So that is the plan here. Same deal, kind of a pain to get on, but not too bad. So same deal, come in here, bada bang, bada boom, kind of maneuver. All right, so we got our camber bolt in. Like I said, you kind of want to use your legs to push it up a little bit, and then you'll see eventually it'll kind of go through. Keep an eye on your washer. Make sure the tab is lining up with the oval. There we go. Pick up the rotor, pick up the hub, put some kind of pressure on the bottom here, and then you'll be able to get the bolt in there. So once your camber bolt is in, and then you'll notice you'll go to turn the nut, and then it'll also spin the bolt and the washer. So to get that nut on with no problem, it's kind of a pain in the ghoulie, so let me show you how. All right, so we're gonna throw our extension on, throw our 18 mil on, put our gun on a low setting, 1 for low torque. Come in here with our 15 mil wrench, hold it down on the camber bolt. You'll see you'll be able to kind of put it down, and the tab will go against the wrench. So we're gonna come in here, tighten the camber bolt. We have our wrench on the right side here, kind of against the tab. If you aligned it correctly, you'll be able to line the wrench up against the tab. And then come in here with our gun. Do not need the small extension, so we'll just take our gun, put it on the 1 setting, just so we can get it snugged up. And then what we wanna do is, like I said, put some pressure on the bottom of the rotor here. All right, we snugged our camber bolt on. That's on there. We have a ratchet here with our 19 mil short socket, and we have our deep well 19 mil socket with our gun. So we want to come in here, get one, get the other. You want to use your legs if you can, or some kind of pressure. Just snug it up until you can torque it. All right, that's enough there. We'll leave our bolts alone. Now we could put our end link on. All right, so this is our end link that comes with the HKS HyperMax S's. We have our end links, and then we have our set of nylon nuts, and then we have our washers here. So for the washers, if you guys saw the stock, the factory end links, you saw that the bolt on the end link was flanged. So in order to replicate that, we're gonna put our washer on our end link there, put the washer on the end link there on the bottom side, boom, and then we take our nut and boom. Well, once it's in, obviously. So we'll go ahead and put that in. Might have made a small boo-boo. Made a small boo-boo. We're loosening up the camber bolts, the coilover bolts. Loosening up the camber bolts right now, so we could move the whole assembly around to get the end link in. Let's see, maybe now we can get it in. All right, and this is why I said keep everything kind of loose. This way you can move everything around, fiddle with it, especially when it comes to the end link, because it's a pain in the butt. Probably should put the end link in first, along with the coil. All right, finally got the end link on. So now we are just tightening it. So to get to the bottom nut of the end link, we're using 19 mil short socket with our kind of flex head gear wrench ratchet. Definitely a pain to get in there, so you're gonna need something slim, I would say. All right, once you snug that one down, come up to the top. Alrighty, so end link is torqued down. Torque the spec if you want. I'll throw up the torque specs on screen for the end link. So after the end link is all good, and we have the top hat nuts on the coilover, those should be hand tightened. All right, top bolt, factory bolt, 114, and then our bottom bolt, which is the SPC camber bolt, we want to torque to 97 foot-pounds. All right, same thing, come in here, 98 foot-pounds. All right, so this torque wrench does not go to 97, so we're doing 98. Hold my wrench on the right side of the bolt to kind of hold that plate in place. Once again, it lines up with the washer, and then hold that wrench in place and then torque down. Because if you don't hold it in place, then it's gonna spin. All right, everything is tightened up. Now, time to throw on our wheel, throw on our lug, and torque it down. All right, before we get started on the rear, there's a few things we want to do before even taking the wheel off. First things first, you want to clear out your trunk and come in here. We have 2 strut mount bolts right here that you're going to need to access. And how you do that is you're going to pull up your mat in the trunk, and then there's going to be a couple of clips, one right there, one right here. We have 1, 2, 4, and then we have one right here. All right, so after you have cleared out your trunk, the next step is, if you decide to go with lower control arms, you want to match up the length of the aftermarket control arm that you went with to the factory one. At least I recommend doing that, just so you have any problems when lining it up. So it's kind of a pain to mess with. You want to take an adjustable wrench and kind of fiddle with these. This nut here will basically loosen the whole assembly. I'll loosen this one first, and then you want to loosen everything up to where everything starts spinning, and then lower the joint here down below to where you can match it up with your factory arm. Once you've done that, you could go ahead and take your adjustable wrench, and if you have another wrench or something, you want to tighten these, so you need 2. So put a wrench on here, tighten this one, tighten this nut here to the arm itself, and then you have this one which will lock to this nut on the right, and then we have this one which is the lightest one. Once you're done spinning this joint, you want to lock this one, and that'll stop this from spinning. It might take 10 to 15 minutes just to fiddle with it if you have not messed with one of these before, but once you have gotten the correct length that you're looking for, you go ahead and tighten these up with your adjustable wrench. Just snug them up pretty tight. The reason why we're putting the nuts closest to the control arm itself versus the ball joint is because when we want to gain more camber in the future, we'll be able to just adjust the lowest nut there closest to the arm, the bottom nut, and that'll be able to push out the joint here, and that'll give us more camber, and then we could adjust the rest of the nuts as need be. And with our Cusco lower control arms, we do have new bolts for the coilover itself. So the bolts that go into the coilover, the bottom piece portion of the coilover, this is the new bolt you'll be using, and I will go over how to kind of adjust these later. All right, so last thing we want to do before we go ahead and take the wheel off and start this whole shebang is you want to take your coil over and take that little boot off there, boom, and you want to adjust it. Make sure before you put this thing on that it is where you want it set. So like I said earlier in the video, we're gonna have it set kind of right in the middle and get a feel for it, see how we like these coils, and we'll basically stiffen it up or soften it up depending on how we like it. All right, so can't turn anymore, so we're gonna go 15 to the left now, the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13, 14, 15. Boom, and she's set. And don't forget to put that little boot back on to protect the grease strap in top hat. Alrighty, now we can take off our lug nuts and get our wheel off and get started. So 2 things I want to recommend highly is, number 1, having a jack stand with you so you could jack up the spindle if you need to, as well as the control arm, because you're definitely going to need to mess around with jacking that up. This way you can allow the coilover to seat in the control arm without any issues, basically. Otherwise, if you don't have a jack or something, you can try a pole jack or anything. You might have to have another hand kind of pull up on the spindle to kind of give you that leverage to match up to the control arm. Other than that, right now we have the car on our 2 jack stands, and that makes life a whole lot easier because we have our jack accessible that way. All right, so these are the bolts we are going to be taking off to, number 1, free up our strut here. This way we could put our new coilover in. So we have to drop the control arm in order to put the coilover in. And the reason why I went with control arms, well, not only to get more camber, but I might as well kind of throw control arms to get more camber in here while this control arm is dropped. I mean, that to me, it just made more sense to throw in the control arm as well. While you're in here, you want to, number 1 bolt, number 2, number 3 for the stabilizer link, and then number 4 all
all the way back there. So we're gonna start from all the way back there. We're gonna hit this one for the sway bar. We're gonna hit the coil, and then we're gonna take this one out last. All right, so we have 17 mil, and we're gonna hit the back bolt there. Our Tomei exhaust is kind of in the way, so we're gonna see if we can maneuver that. First bolt out, throw that nut on there so we don't lose it, get it confused. All right, time for the sway bar nut. It's a 14 mil socket. Yeah, this one's pretty easy. It's torqued to like 44 foot-pounds or something like that. I'll throw it up on screen. Get this one off. That bolt out there, so that's probably where you're gonna need the hammer for our flathead. And then real quick, I'll show you guys how I'm setting this up this way. You don't get confused, because I was definitely getting confused with my sockets and crap before. Through my two sockets, 1 and 2, together with the stabilizer link bolt here, so I don't forget that these two sockets work for this bolt. Same goes for that bolt all the way towards the inside of the car. Sockets with bolts, got that out. And then, yeah, as you can see, I left the flathead in there just to make life a little bit easier. Because the control arm will move, so I'm kind of just helping kind of stabilize the control arm before it drops. Next up is that strut bolt, dude. It is, once again, a 17 mil, so we're going to take our 2 ratchets, make life a little bit easier. The electric gun will make it easier, but in effort to do things the hard way, that's what we're doing today. So pop it on there. Not too bad there. And this is probably where you could probably use the gun if you really wanted to. That off there, easy peasy. And get this bolt. Oh, all right. Oh, we're back at it. Well, we're kind of stabilizing this with that, so. Boom, bolt is out. We're gonna put our nut with the bolt, of course. Boom, and then last but not least is that one bolt on the knuckle. It is, once again, a 17. So we're gonna take our 2 ratchets, come in here. Still got our 2 flatheads stuck in there. Like I said, kind of just makes things easier so the control arm doesn't flop all over the place, kind of stabilizes things. There we go. Come on. There we go. Come in here, socket on, and these, oh my God, that was the easiest bolt to get out. Once again, bada bing, bada boom, put the nut with the bolt, and we have our setup going, dude. We're going well right now, but famous last words. And the other side was definitely a pain in the goolie, I tell you. But that's my own fault for being an absolute goober. So, yeah, now we got the top hat bolts, well, the nuts, the little nuts, on up here, up towards the top where I showed you guys before. You want to take those off and take them off completely. And once you do that, this strut will basically drop down. Well, the control arm is ready to come down, but right now we have our, like I said, 2 flatheads, 1 and 2, kind of stabilizing it to make life easier. So once you take the bolts out, all right, we'll come in here, bolts on top are out, take our flatheads out. Ooh, all right, come on. Well, that came out a little unexpected there. But yeah, she gone. Control arm number 1, control arm out, strut is out. Yeah, that thing launched. It was like a torpedo, dude. Now, boom, we got our control arm, dude. Control arm, like I said, dude, you want to make sure these nuts are all tight. So we're gonna double check. You could also, when you put the control arm, I'll show you guys in a minute, make sure it's all set up, it's fit nice, because once you get this thing bolted in, you do not want to have to adjust these nuts again. All right, so now it's time to throw on our control arm. Take our bolt, the one closest to the spindle, and we'll throw that one in first. Forgot this thing. Back in it. Let's see if she goes in pretty good. All right. So, oh Lord. Oh, you slide into the bottom. Wow. So get the control arm in. Don't want to bolt it in yet. Definitely don't want to bolt it in yet. We want to get our coilover in there. So leave it, you know, just with the one bolt, just so we can hang it up and everything nice and fitted nicely. You're here somewhere. Oh, eureka. I think I found her. I just said it's not doing it now. Oh, you know why it's not doing it? Because it's not lined up. How you like that? hand thread that bad puppy on. And then you know what I think I'll do? I'll thread the other bolts on as well, just to keep the control arm up and yeah, do that. But I want to go over this bolt real quick because there's some there's dilemma with this bolt. You might be looking at it and be like, what the heck is this, dude? I know I definitely did. I was looking at this and I was like, dude, what am I looking at? What am I looking at? So this bolt here, you have a nylon nut, and then you have these two kind of washer plates here. So, and you have another washer over here. But you have these two washers. So on the 86 BRZ FRS, these washer plates, when you put the bolt in, boom, you put the bolt in, and this washer plate is going to be facing towards the outside of the car. It's going to be facing towards the outside, not the inside. So it's going to be facing like this. You see this little groove right here? This is going to be facing towards the outside of the car. Same thing on this side. Do not forget about the other side because there's one for each side. They both need to be facing symmetrically. So, boom, outside of the car. And for the other side, for the driver's side and the passenger side, both need to be facing towards the outside of the car. For some other vehicles, as far as I have heard, they might be the other way. So just double check for your car. But for the BRZ FRS and 86, they are this way. Come in here, we have our logo facing towards us. HKS logo towards us. Come in here, and then come in here. We have two options. Number one, you could throw in the bolt again for the control arm, or you could put the jack under it. I'm gonna try to do the bolt this time. I did the jack last time. Let me see if I can do the bolt, see if it's easier. Oh, that wasn't bad at all. Didn't even need the jack this time. All right, come in here, get our stabilizer bolt, stabilizer link back in. Boom. For the pain in the ghoulie bolt. Now, put this bad boy on after we drop the nut. Take the washer off. All right, come to the back, come to the rear, and then line it up with the coil over here. See if we can find it. There we go. Kind of steer it towards the hole. Next step, take our ratchet, come in our trunk. After you get it snug, just give it like quarter turn. Not too bad at all. They're only torqued to like 20 something. That's our other side there. So you look fine, look good. Now we could come down here and torque our bolts. The new bolts that we got for our control arm are the pain in the ghoulie ones. So we're actually gonna attempt to tackle those first. So come in here, two ratchets, once again, just because it makes life a lot easier to do this. So those new bolts are actually not 17s, they're 19s. So you're gonna need an extra set of sockets, dude. All right, so get our 19, and then come in here, one, there, one, other side, and crank away. I wanted to use the pivot head to hold it in place because I like the steady one for tightening. This way I can just do this. So tightening this, get it to where it's starting to give you some resistance, and then you want to take your fingers here, how I have it. It's the same thing on the other side. I'm holding my ratchet like this, basically. Take my pointer finger, pushing the washer up on both sides, kind of holding it. So I'm holding on the left side towards the front of the car, holding the washer up and pushing the ratchet head towards the control arm, and then I'm tightening with this one. Every time I go up, I'm pushing the washer up towards the top of the car. This way, I make sure the washer is pointing towards me, or else if you just tighten it, you're gonna see the washer will turn with the car. It'll basically become misaligned and not to where you want it to be. All right, so we got that nice and snug there. We'll come back and torque it down and come in with our 17s, 1 and 2. Come in here and we'll do the bolt closest to us, which is the one on the spindle. Do that one there. All right, hand tightened. And then we'll hit the one towards the back. All right, hand tightened. And last but not least is our little stabilizer bolts, dude. Come in here, bolt on, hand tightened everything, and now we come over to torque wrench and torque her down. First one we'll do is, we're gonna use a slim head ratchet for this, just because this thing is honestly a gear wrench. Slim head ratchet is coming clutch, dude. I love this thing. Oh my god. Yeah, we'll do the one in the back first. All right, we'll come in here, do our stabilizer link first, just because that's the set of sockets we got lined up. So come in here. All right, as per Cusco's instructions here, we have the 3 bigger bolts, 1, 2, 3, coming in at 120 Newton meters, which is 88.5 foot-pounds. So 1, 2, 3 bigger bolts, 88 foot-pounds, 88.5. You go to 89, whatever. And then we have our stabilizer link bolt here, 38 Newton meters, which comes in at 28 foot-pounds. All right, we're gonna come in here, do our stabilizer link first, just because we have sockets on already. All right, stabilizer link is down, torqued, ready to go. Next up, we'll do our pan the ghoulie bolts, which is the 19, 1, and 2, 88 foot-pounds, 88.5. Come in with our torque wrench, come in with our ratchet, come down below, pull out this one on here. And yeah, just keep an eye on the washers that you don't happen to spin them again, because like I said, pain in the ghoulie. All right, next up, we'll do the 1 bolt close to the spindle. Hit that one up. Then we'll come over here, bolt near the body, the inside. Now, come in here, and we throw on our wheel. Come on. Mind it. There we go. Before you throw on your wheel, always double check, make sure your brake lines, ABS lines, none of that stuff is tangled up in any way, because definitely don't want that when you're driving. So I think I'm probably gonna change out the Mutekis. I got these as temporary setup. They're used, but they actually, well, they were new. They're off of eBay. They kind of corroded there. Like the Muteki is turning like kind of a rusty color, which I'm not too fond about. Temporary setup, whatever, it is what it is. Before, you might know, you could fit about 4 fingers. Right now we have maybe 3, but 2 is more like it. Unadjusted, the coils are, I would say, lowered about 2 inches or so in the front at least, and then we come to the rear. We got 3 to 2, it's almost 3, like 2.5 for the rear. Whereas before, like I said, was 4. Obviously gonna need alignment, goes without saying. Our alignment is a little goofed up. We'll get that dialed in, a little lowered, going on to prepare for our wheel setup. All right, guys. I think that's a good enough time as any to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Super stoked on the coilovers finally going on the car, and you guys already know, next step is set of wheels. So, yeah, when I see you guys next time, we'll have some goodies on the car. But yeah, man, you guys already know the deal. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give me a like down below. It really does go a long way. And while you're down there, consider subscribing. That shows me you guys like what I'm doing here, and I can do more. But other than that, shout out to today's video sponsor, Hachi Electronics, as per usual, the Supreme BRZ Man 86 Master of Electronics. Use code JULES for free shipping in the description down below. And while you're down there, you could check me out on the socials, Julian Telesco. You can find me everywhere, anywhere, and all the where. Instagram, TikTok, all that cool stuff. I like posting behind the scenes, car meets, car shows, all that crap. Just basically day in the life of JT. But yeah, man, I think that's enough said for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Peace.